Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jinex.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you this morning? Happy Friday. Perfect.
Yeah,
good morning, Ayo.
Good morning, Oji. How
Great.
Are you?
Good
Oji,
morning.
How's your leg?
It's getting better. I'm strong now. I'm stronger now. I'm happy that it's getting better. Thank you for checking. Ayo, I'm looking at you. I'm watching you. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I hope you finally took my recommendation.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, because I'm not going to let you say that recommendation on there. You know I know you. well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending. Senator representing Ogun East, Gbenga Daniel, in a memo that went viral on Thursday, asked that his pension as a former governor of the state be stopped. The senator, who was elected in February to represent Ogun East in the Red Chamber of the 10th National Assembly, in a memo which he posted on Twitter, said, good conscience informed his decision to have his monthly payment suspended. Gbenga Daniel, however, stated that apart from the pension, he has not benefited from any welfare package, such as medical, transportation, or furniture allowances since he left office in 2011. I'm coming straight to you on this story. As you know, we've always been talking about reducing the cost of governance. This is such a refreshing memo that we got. Let me take a tweet from IPC, who wrote, Senator Gbenga Daniel's decision to suspend his pension and allowances is a commendable one. Senator Daniel's decision is also a good example for other public officials to follow. We use this opportunity to ask you to propose a 50% reduction in the National Assembly budget. Nigeria is drowning in debt because of the high salaries of its public officials. The country cannot afford to continue to borrow to pay these salaries. A reduction in the National Assembly budget would free up resources that could be used to improve the lives of ordinary Nigerians. I have a list of governors that are still in the Senate, ex-governors that are still in the Senate, that are still benefiting from their pension. And, it will be nice to see them follow this step. I know we have a GFX of those governors. One of them is... I'd like to call them out. Yes, we have Godswill Akpabio from Akwa Ibom. We also have Adamso Shomole from Edo State. We have Devu Mahi from Ebonyi State. We have Aminu Tamboa from Sokoto State. We also have Abubakar Sani Bello from Niger State. We have Ibrahim Dankwambo from Gombe State. Abdulaziz Yari, very top official, we should have him. Also follow Gbenga Daniel's footstep. We also have Aliyu Wamako from Sokoto State, Oji Kalu from Abia State, Ibrahim Gideon from Yobe State, and we also have Sariki Dixon from Bayelsa State, and Adamu Aliero from Kebbi State. Danjuma Goje from Gombe State. We should have all of these governors take a cue from Senator Gbenga Daniel.
Yes. So I'm so happy we're starting off the show on such an important note.
Absolutely.
Because this is prime example for other governors. And thank you, Oji, for putting them on the Hall of Fame.
Good journalism.
We should have a wall up somewhere. Maybe we should sponsor some ads, in terms of billboards, just to remind them in case we forget. But great example set by Senator Gbenga Daniel. When you reeled out those names, most of them had spent a minimum of 8 years in the House. So it means that 8 years of collecting pensions while still working and collecting salary and allowance from the House. How much money are they bleeding Nigeria and Nigerians from? That was the honorable thing to do. It is noble. But beyond that is what the IPC have said, and I totally align with that, that this is a first step. We commend it because we must commend, good moves. But the next step, which we're urging, because the reward for good work is what? More work, is that they go on to the House and trim by 50% their allowances, salaries, if they really want to push that notion that indeed they want to stand for Nigerians and for the vulnerable in Nigeria. what we often say is that the president has called a number of times for us to make sacrifices, the austerity measures. This is a time when we're trying to fix our nation. We need to get our GDP up. We need to, get our debts, service our debts. So many things in terms of the economy, but it's not being reflected, leadership-wise. It's not being reflected in the House. We see our senators whose allowances are still shrouded like it's the state secret. But they often say, oh, we'll get the FOI, get our allowances. What we're asking for them to do is to take the higher road, be honorable. Can you propose a bill to slash salaries and allowances, even if it's a pay cut for a while? That would be what we praise from today onwards. But thank you very much, Senator Gbenga Daniel. We look forward to more announcements in the coming days.
Yes, refreshing story. Rufai.
I mean, very good. Kudos to you, Ogidiomo. Otumba Gbenga Daniel.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ogidiomo, for doing that. I mean, we have to lead the way. Our politicians have to lead the way. You can see when you do well, we say you have done well. When you don't do well, we'll give you allowance. It's as simple as that. Otumba Gbenga Daniel has done well. It is not good in good conscience to be collecting 2 salaries as a senator and still as a governor and all of that. It is not nice. At a time where we are saying cut down the cost. And the other governors that have been mentioned, please, do the needful. You can't eat from 2 pots at the expense of this country and all of that. So, but I think most importantly is for us, and this is a charge to all state legislatures, to be able to review this big pay package we give outgoing governors. Because the problem in the country is the fact that when the governors come in, they wield a lot of influence over the state lawmakers. And anything they tell them, they do for their own benefit. Pretty much because who emerges the speaker is pretty much influenced by the governor. And that's why we keep talking about legislative independence. Speaker of State House of Assembly, we should remember, you are there to serve the people. And anything that is inimical to the growth and the prosperity of the people, you should shun it. So even if the governors bring all sorts to you, you should shun it. And you too should be clean. Because a lot of these speakers cannot fight back because they are not clean. And why they use the EFCC on them, they keep scampering around. So let us lead by examples. I know all of this I'm saying is just idealism. But the truth is we can't keep saying, oh, idealism doesn't work in Nigeria. Because if we keep saying idealism doesn't work in Nigeria, then we'll not have a country. We can't keep making laws to favor those that are high and mighty over others. So please, we should go back and cut wages as much as possible. And a clarion call to revenue mobilization, I like to call them RAMFAC. Please, this is not the time to review upwardly any salaries of any government official. Nigeria is bleeding. It is the time for us even to be able to cut the cost of governance so we can save and do other things with the money. And most importantly, raise revenue for the country. So there's a lot that needs to be done.
Well said. Dr.
There's a historical background to this. In 2019, Zamfara State, the House of Assembly, they had decided to pass a piece of legislation cancelling pensions for former governors. As at that time, Zamfara State had about 3 former governors. And it was gulping over 700 million per annum, or perhaps even more, to maintain governors. That same 2019, SERAP, the NGO, the Social and Economic Rights Accountability Project, decided to go to court to ask for an order of mandamus to compel the Attorney General, Malami SAN, who was Attorney General then, to take action against pension laws by interrogating the legality of state pensions laws, because those state pensions laws had created an avenue to continue to feed fat on the resources of states and the federal government of Nigeria at the expense of ordinary people. In states where they don't pay salaries for 5-6 months or a whole year, where pensioners are not paid, where money is being wasted, then you have a man, because he has been governor, he will be collecting money for life. In some of the laws, on state pensions laws, once you stop being governor, you are entitled to a house in Abuja, you are entitled to a house in any part of Nigeria of your choice. You are given cooks, you are given vehicles, you are given medicals, your vehicles are changed almost on a 6-monthly basis. So it became controversial. And at that time, SERAP was commended for taking that action. And when the matter went to court, Federal High Court, Abuja, presided over by Justice Oluremi Oguntoyibo, Justice Oguntoyibo ruled that no, nobody can be collecting double emoluments. Because the specific focus now became those governors who were senators or who were ministers and were still pocketing money from both places out of greed, out of thinking that they've become parasites onto Nigeria, the Nigerian state, just because they served as a governor or they served as anything. So our point is that same old point. The rent collection regime that we have in Nigeria is unacceptable, is unsustainable, and there is a ruling of court that has not been challenged by any of the parasitic former governors, to say that the law must not take its course. What has happened instead is that quite a number of former governors had come forward. I recall Senator Bukola Saraki came forward and said he never collected any double emoluments. BRF, former minister, former governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Raji Fashola, also came forward and said he doesn't collect any money from Lagos State government, since he left. He has not been collecting since he left office. I think Dr. Kayode Fayemi also came forward to say when he was minister, he was not collecting anything from Ekiti State. So there are examples before Senator Daniel. What Senator Daniel has done now, reminds us of the right thing to do. So it is exemplary. And we hope that all those gluttonous former governors and former senators who may still be collecting double emoluments will follow this good example and moderate their greed. And remember that when you are made governor or minister, the purpose is for you to serve. It's not for you to settle survival problems or challenges of your family from generation to generation.
All right,
I rest my case.
Generation to generation.
All right. We'll take another story. A federal high court in Abuja on Thursday granted bail to the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari, in the sum of 50 million naira. Kyari was arrested on February 14, 2022, after the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency declared him wanted over alleged links with an international drug cartel. He was arraigned alongside 4 other members of the Police Intelligence Response Team. Since then, bail applications by Kyari and the 4 officers had been rejected. While in the ruling on Thursday, James Omotosho, the presiding judge, said the charges against the defendants are bailable. The court, however, added that Kyari's release from prison custody is dependent on what happens in another case in which he is being tried alongside 4 others for their alleged involvement in drug trafficking. I mean, Rufai, only yesterday we were discussing, the detention of the CBN or suspended CBN governor as well as the suspended EFCC chairman, and now we are seeing that Abba Kyari has been released. But the fact still remains. What was the issue in the beginning? Why was his bail not granted to start with? Those are the questions a lot of people are asking right now.
Okay, so even with this bail granted, he might not be let out because it was a bail for one case. There's still another case. There are 2 substantive cases. Number 1 case about, the connection to drug thing, that NDLA put together. Secondly is the declaration of assets, which is quite very shocking. And when you see the assets that were listed, I wonder, goodness me, a DCP had this level of assets and all of that. So that's one. Secondly, it's the legal process. I mean, somebody pointed out something to me this morning, and he said, Rufai, do you know that the entire Ekweremadu case, took 9 months from arrest to prosecution in the UK? But guess what? This Abba Kyari case has gone on over 18 months. And nothing has been done as regards this Abba Kyari case. So it shows that our legal system grinds very slowly. I think what we should do is we should be able to expedite action on this case so that we come to a conclusion as to what really happened, all right, as regards this Abba Kyari case. But a little backrek about Abba Kyari. We all remember the story. Yes. And this is a grace to grass stories. This is a man that was given a standing ovation in our National Assembly for his contributions to the nation. This was a super cop. This man could do no wrong. only for all of those things and the evidence they brought out to come out. So it speaks volumes about our country. And this was also a blight on the authorities and the police force because this man was in charge of so many. And give him his kudos too. He cracked a lot of crimes. You remember the Evans case and all of that. Super Cop, as it was called.
Yeah.
But only when we now remember the association of Super Cop, with people like OjyOkpe and the likes, and the case of drugs at the same time, and declaration of assets. So please, we also want the judicial system to be quick. I don't see why the court, Abba Kyari couldn't have gone through his court process by now, and we should even have gotten a judgment by now.
Right.
And please, by also extension, INEC should also, and the court process should also expedite action on the case of Mr. Ari, the INEC wreck that caused all the shenanigans in Adamawa State. Because you see, when we delay justice, it starts to look as though justice is denied.
Absolutely.
We need to bolster and buffer our judicial processes. All
right, Dr. Abati, if you can quickly add your comment on this.
The principle is justice delayed is justice denied. Every accused person under the laws of Nigeria has a right to fair hearing, as enshrined in Section 36 of the 1999 Constitution. However, bail, as we've seen in this case, is determined by the court. If it's not administrative bail, this is court bail that you are dealing with. But we have every reason, to express concern about the fact that why has it taken 18 months? Now, one of the issues here was that when his counsel first applied for bail, the counter-argument was that it would be a flight risk. He was accused of being part of a drug cartel that runs from, Ethiopia, through Ethiopia, Nigeria, all the way to Brazil. Now, so that's the local case here. And the ADLA got the fiat of the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation to charge him to court, and they filed 24 charges against him. That's one. What made the matter complicated was that subsequently, the Office of the Attorney General now came and filed a case for Abba Kyari to be extradited to the United States. But Justice Ekwo said, look, this is mischievous, this is hypocritical. That the Office of the Attorney General at the time should have known that if a person is already being tried for an offense in his own country, you cannot file extradition proceedings or ask the court to grant extradition under such circumstances. And that was the court of Justice Ekwo. What was the matter there? In the OjyOkpe case, Ramon Abbas, aka OjyOkpe, who used to be very popular with a lot of ladies in Nigeria until he ran into trouble.
He used to be popular with a lot of ladies.
Well, that's just an aside. A U.S. District Court indicted Abba Kyari in this particular case. So there's still that American angle to it. And then this other case that, very complicated. But yes, later the Nigerian police force, on the recommendation of the Inspector General of Police, decided to suspend him and remove him and his colleagues from that police intelligence unit, which had been a very effective, well-admired unit of the force, and for which Abba Kyari himself was very well decorated and praised. So there's that crisis also at a personal level. But the bigger loser in all of this will seem to be the Nigerian police force. That you could have officers, about 4 or 5 officers, being linked with untidy things. But in any case, until the matter is resolved by the court of law, we cannot pronounce any judgment in terms of whether the accused persons are guilty or not.
As always. Well, let's take another story. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Thursday joined over 30 million users on the new microblogging platform Threads. Threads is a text-based social media platform founded by Mark Zuckerberg's Meta, which also owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. The app, which was launched on Thursday, has similar functions to rival Elon Musk's Twitter. The app's unveiling comes a few days after Musk announced that a temporary limit had been imposed on the number of posts users can read daily on Twitter. President Tinubu, in his first post on the app, shared a video from his inauguration on May 29th with the caption, "My fellow tailors, Adan has landed.
He done.
You know, I always say Okay. I love this. I mean, this is so beautiful.
Surah, my brother Surah the tailor. Welcome to Trend. We are also in everything.
We just talked about one fashion designer.
Yes, sir. You know, all of us on Trend, we are all two Surahs. We are all Surah the tailor. So my fellow Trend, welcome. You know, we have a song now for Trend. Trend and you do Trend and you do.
Oh, really?
Thank you for informing us. I had your
You know, he's very good on social media.
Trend and you do. You don't welcome, Mo. You don't welcome, you know. Although, let me just tell you this, you know, some people want to sue all of us on Trend. Including Elon Musk. But because you are the main Idon, we have told Elon Musk to go to court.
No, I must say kudos to the social media handlers who were able to jump on what was popular at the time. And
they jumped on the thread.
Referring to the they jumped on the thread. And referring to Idon, by the way, for the people who don't know, it means, I think, magic or wonder, or someone who is doing so. It's a language on the street. It's trending, actually.
I always call it Idon.
It's the American in you.
It's American in you.
Yeah.
It's not an American word.
It's a Yoruba word.
But in any case, I think on a serious note, this shows also, you know, how this social media has become such a serious tool of communication. Right. To see that on the first day that a social media test-based app is launched, the president of the country immediately joined.
Absolutely.
And, you know, he's going to use it as a tool of engagement and communication. So you see, social media has become part of the governance process, the communication process. Yes. And it's also a place for wawulens, or what do you call it?
Wawulens.
After all,
I would know.
After all, Funke Akindele went and posted shoes. For the better part of yesterday, it was all talk about shoes. They say, Funke Akindele, you brought your shoes here. This is all message.
This is for texting, right? Oh, well, all right. We shall take our final story then.
I hope one day we will have a Nigerian developer social media app that will be accepted all over the world.
Absolutely.
That's what we should be looking at.
Absolutely. We'll take our final story. Despite the announcement made by the Guinness World Record for people attempting to break world records to properly confirm with their team before attempting to break any record, an upcoming artist identified as Sugar T proposed a 72-hour kissing marathon to be held in Ekiti State, while the government of Ekiti State on Wednesday banned the planned kiss-a-thon, reportedly billed to take place today, 7th of July. In a letter addressed to the Secretary of the State's Hoteliers Association, the Ekiti State government described the event as unhealthy, immoral, and capable of denting the image of the state. In the meantime, the Guinness World Record announced on Thursday that it has deactivated the longest kissing record because the competition had become too dangerous and some of the rules conflicted with their current updated policies. Dr. Abati, we took this story 2 days ago and you were saying, what is the obsession with this Guinness World Record? And just to note that Guinness World Record had banned this actual kissing marathon, and we see that, you know, the desperation, is it what we call it now at this point, Dr. Abati?
No, this kissathon, pregnanton, cookathon, hackathon, in fact, there is even one that they have come up with now, prayathon, by Wole Arole, who says he wants to pray for 5,000 hours. It's just showing that something is going wrong in Nigeria. You know, gunning for the Guinness World Record has become an obsession with Nigerian youths. And we should be worried about that. You know, people looking for the easy way out to be famous. Now, the Singati in Ekiti State, Sugar T, he has come forward to say that, well, he used it to chase clout. That if he had said he wanted to do singathon because he's a musician, that nobody would have noticed him. But that now he has been invited by the Ekiti State government. Although he was not in town, you know, they told him, no, you can't do that here. We're a responsible state with very decent people. Don't come and denigrate the image of our state, kissing all over the place. So he said he didn't even want to do it. He wanted to promote himself. And that now, state government has recognized him. And everybody has known a man called Sugar T.
So there's something in
fact, he has changed the class so much that we are discussing him on international television.
Absolutely.
But I support what the Ekiti State government has done. You know, the Ekiti State government says, this is absurd, this is morally questionable. And it is just as well that the Guinness World Record too don't want people kissing all over the place. Kissing all over.
Did you see the Cameroonian girl who says she wants to do a sexathon? Is it sexathon? Did she say?
That one is sexathon.
Sexathon. I saw that as well. This is completely amazing. Well, all right.
But you know, people in Sweden have turned that into sports.
I was going to say there should be an update on that one.
On the Swedish story, we haven't seen it. You know that it was just a group that wanted to do that. Well, all right. I'd like to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending today. Well, that's all I have for you on What's Trending. I'll see you all next week.